Deep dive. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 6.5's the total. And last year, 5-11 straight up, 6-9-1 ATS, 8-8 with the totals, -1 turnover differential. That was 16th. The Westgate took them off the board, decided what they're going to do with Winston. I don't know if it makes much of a difference because they went, 3-10 with him last year and went 2-1 without him with Fitzpatrick. He's expected to be suspended.
Yeah, I mean, look, when we talk about Tampa right now, and this team was lined at 6.5 wins, it's off the board at most places right now until Winston's status is resolved. I don't expect it, even if Winston gets cut. I don't think it's going to move that much. Maybe a 6, maybe a 5.5. And I don't think Winston's going to get cut. I think they have to give Jameis Winston a chance to redeem himself in Tampa. Really simple. They've invested too much into the guy to start from scratch right now. And we're talking about the number 1 overall pick in 2015, a guy who came into the league with a reputation for some less than intelligent decisions that he made as a college kid.
Yeah.
Not the only student athlete to make poor decisions in college. I did, Pauly, you did. Most of the guys I know did at various times. I don't blame him
wait a second. I've not been accused of sexual assault twice. Come on.
That is correct. Yeah. All I'm saying is that we all made some poor decisions in college. What we've seen in the NFL from Jameis Winston is signs. We've seen promise. We haven't seen consistent results, and we haven't seen a winning record. This team's it's a team option, $20.9 million in 2019. It's guaranteed for injury only. So they can cut him without penalty at the end of this season. 3 years, 45 starts. The guy's 69-44 touchdown to interception ratio and 87.2 passer rating. He has decent numbers. They're not ridiculously bad numbers. The off-field issues have overwhelmed his on-field issues. And, of course, when you talk about a quarterback who's on the hot seat, it's a head coach who's on the hot seat, too, in terms of Dirk Cutter. If John Gruden had decided he wanted to stay home and coach in Tampa, Cutter would already be gone. But it's a contract year for the coach. It's a contract year for the quarterback. It's a contract year for the GM, Jason Licht, in his 5th year. This is the type of situation that is very, very fluid. And it's one of the reasons that even though I like Tampa Bay in some regards, I'm not going to bet them over the total because if things go south, everybody's going to quit and this team's going to fall apart.
I can't believe they brought him back. A horrible season last year, 5-11, couldn't stop anybody. Not to mention you sent 3 teams from this division in the playoffs. That could happen again. Carolina won 11 games. Atlanta made the playoffs, won a game. And then you had the success that the Saints had as well. Couldn't run the ball either. Doug Martin's gone. They take Jones in the draft, the kid out of USC. They also have Quids Rogers. But the other thing why it hurts Winston, if you watched Hard Knocks, Cutter is screaming at him in every practice. They're playing that preseason game against Miami. He throws the ball up for grabs. Cutter's screaming at him. Horrible decisions, bad interceptions. That never changed if you watch Hard Knocks. That hasn't changed his whole career so far in Tampa Bay. So we'll see if they can fix that. I doubt it. But also, you're in a tough division, Teddy, and they have to get off to a hot start. And they have a couple early games out of the gate, see if they can win. That's the other thing. They don't have Winston the first 3 games likely. The first 3 games are brutal. You're taking on Pittsburgh, New Orleans. They're looking at an 0-3.
Yeah, I mean, the power rating differential between Fitzpatrick and Winston, a point to the point spread. I mean, it's not a significant difference in the betting markets between those QBs. So, I mean, it's certainly not a good scenario for Tampa to be without their quarterback for the first 3 games. But if you're going to have a backup, if you got a veteran coming right out of training camp like Fitzpatrick before he gets beat up, you got a fighting chance. When you talk about the off season for Tampa, they made some moves that I like. Most importantly, shoring up the offensive and defensive lines. You talked about last year they couldn't run the football. Hey, they signed Ryan Jensen from Baltimore to man the center of that offensive line. Now Ollie Marpet can slide back over to guard. That, I think, should help them on the offensive line. Certainly Jensen, an impact player in that regard. They re-signed tight end Cameron Brate, one of the favorite targets and a solid blocker. They brought back Mike Evans. But most importantly than anything, complete overhaul of that defensive line. Jason Pierre-Paul, JPP coming in on the draft day deal. Vinnie Curry, Bo Allen, Mitch Unrein, all coming in to solve a unit that was, let's be honest, it was pretty nasty. It was a disaster a season ago. The money and draft picks and, the capital they gave up to get Pierre-Paul and to make these moves was significant. It was win now type of stuff for Tampa. That's where this squad was a couple of months ago. And you look at that draft, as you mentioned, Vita from Washington. And I know the guys didn't like him getting picked number 12 overall. He's a beast in the middle. You're not going to run on this guy. You talk about M.J. Stewart and Carlton Davis, a couple of cornerbacks picked in the second round for Tampa that together are expected to make this defense at least a little bit better than it was a season ago when, frankly, Pauly, this defense was an absolute sieve.
Yep, and there's a schedule at New Orleans to start. Philly at home, Pittsburgh at home, then they hit the road against the Bears. If they win, they hope they can win that game because then it's the bye week. Then they take on Atlanta. It could be 1-4 or 0-5 to start. There's no way I can go over here. It's a tough division. 3 teams made the playoffs from this division, as I mentioned. It's funny. They were the cat's meow a couple of years ago. They almost made the playoffs, and they went 9-7 because the defense was so good down the stretch. When they closed 6-2, everything went wrong last year.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the back end of the schedule, okay, I know it's tough early. You look at the back end. Cleveland, at Cincy, at Carolina, Washington at home, at the Giants, San Fran at home, Carolina at home, New Orleans at home, at Baltimore, at Dallas, Atlanta. There's not a team there they can't beat on a good day. Even if they get off to a rough start. There's hope for Tampa. But look, this isn't a squad that I'm going to bet over. There's a lot of things I like about the Bucs, legitimately, but I'm not going to bet them over the win total simply because if things go south early, and you talked about that rough start, if they're 0-3, 0-4, now everybody's on the clock. GM sending out resumes. Cutter may be gone. Winston could be gone. The slow start has the potential to really kill this team. And while their schedule eases up down the stretch, and if they survive that start, they could be a playoff contender. From a betting standpoint, I'm not going to get there with the Bucs over the total. Like the show? Help us keep the lights on. Please make sure to comment, share, and subscribe to all the Sportsbook Review videos. Thanks so much. Best of luck. Enjoy the game.